Hey guys, how are you? I am Andre C. Hatchett with the Black Real Estate School. Here we have a special guest, entrepreneur, corporate titan, and real estate investor, Mr. Jason Streeter. How are you, good brother?
What's up, Jay? How you doing today, brother?
Everything is cool. Jay's going to give us an interesting twist because there are some people who do real estate full time. They're full time investors. They live off of the rental income, and there are some people who use to build wealth and to supplement their income and why they have a full time gig. Jason Street is the latter. So we want to get into his story, how he got started, and where he's at with the real estate business today. So, brother Jay, your first property. When did you buy it?
All right,
How old are you,
so,
per se?
how old am I or how old was I?
How
Or
old are
both?
you now? How old are you now?
All right, today I'm 32. So I bought my first property about 10 years ago when I was 22.
A decade or so. You were 22 years old when you got it.
22 I was. So yeah, so I bought it. It was in North Carolina. So I bought it in Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to college in South Carolina, so I happened to relocate to North Carolina
Mm.
not too long after I graduated. And yeah, I jumped in to the real estate. Right, I spent a year in an apartment, and I realized how easy it was, and just how many people were owning properties in the South. And so I dove right in. I was like, oh well, look, I'm only going to rent for about a year. I actually my lease was up. I actually bought the apartment. Excuse me, I bought the house while still leasing my apartment. Like I was
Wow.
like, I'm gonna get this taken care of while I'm here, and I'm not renewing this lease.
So, what gave you that frame of mind to do it right after undergrad, right after school? Not even a year later, you're in your own home. What gave you that frame of mind?
I think it was just the thought of. I mean, and once I started doing some research, and growing up in New York City, home ownership kind of seems like an afterthought. It just seems like
Yeah.
something that's so unattainable. So
Hmm.
everybody that I know, for the most part, I don't, almost everybody, I should say, were renters. So I came down south, and I was like, wait a minute. I started talking to people. Townhomes were big, especially when I first got out there. Still are today, but for me, I started seeing a lot of people when I was visiting friends, and we would be hanging out. And a lot of these people were in townhomes, and I started asking questions like, "Hey, like, not to be all evasive, but how much are you paying for your townhome? This is a really nice place. Two floors, three bedrooms." Asking a lot of questions, and it turns out they were paying right around what I was paying for rent. So I
Right
started
off the
asking the
same
question
dollar
like,
amount.
yeah, so it made me think like, okay, once I put it in perspective that way, it was all right, let me do the homework and really see if this is something that I can jump into, or if it was something that was probably some other loopholes or hurdles that were ahead of me that I had not known yet. So it drove me to do more research.
So the first thing that you did was you asked questions. You asked people who were in the real estate game, who own property for themselves, whether investment properties or primary residences. You asked them questions.
Correct. Correct. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of times without asking, knowledge is key. So without asking the questions, you'll never know, or you'll think you know, and will come to a conclusion that most times, more often than not, will not be the right conclusion. So, that's the first thing is just opening your mouth and saying, "Hey, you're in it. Let me ask you a few questions about how can I be part of this community?"
It makes sense. It makes total sense. So how long were you looking before you found the property?
So I got lucky. And I say I got lucky, but I was probably looking 45 to 60 days.